Good evening. I'm Ed Berger, president of Hutchinson Community College, and I welcome you to another edition of the HCC Experience. It's an opportunity for us to talk to the community about some of the exciting things that are happening at Hutchinson Community College, and also an opportunity to introduce to you some of the staff that we have, faculty and staff that we have at Hutchinson Community College, part of what makes us such a great institution. Tonight's guest is Carter File. Carter File is the Vice President of Finance at Hutchinson Community College. And welcome, Carter. It's great to have you on the show. You've been a guest before, but I think you might kind of talk to our viewers a little bit about what the Vice President of Finance does, the responsibilities that you have, and maybe some of the challenges that you have to work through.
Thank you, Dr. Berger. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. My title is Vice President of Finance and Operations, and much of my job consists of the finance portion of the college. I'm responsible for helping the college prepare the budgets, working with the other vice presidents to prepare their budgets, and then the finance department is responsible for monitoring those budgets on an ongoing basis and alerting individuals if there needs to be adjustments to their spending. The other side of the finance and operations is we prepare the bills for the students, and we make certain that those bills are accurate when they go out to the students. The operations side of my job is in a couple of areas. The maintenance, plants and the maintenance, the plant and physical plant and grounds are all part of my responsibility, and I have great people leading those areas. But the look of the campus, the maintenance of the facilities, those are all under my responsibility, as well as the ITS department, or the computer services that the college offers. Those fall under my area of responsibility as well. And then the final area that I'm responsible for is the college bookstore and the auxiliary services that are offered by the college to support the college services.
Kind of a wide scope of responsibility when you look at all those areas and the challenges that they hold. Is there one particular area that has changed more dramatically than others in your area of responsibility? I guess just looking from the outside, one might think that IT is really going to be a change, always in the midst of change because of technology, because of the services we provide, and expanding services we provide at the college.
Yeah, absolutely. Information technologies and the computer services we provide not only to our staff, but also to our students have increased dramatically for the colleges and for higher ed in general over the 10 years that I've been doing, almost 11 years I've been doing this. IT, the challenge with IT is that it is an always changing, growing entity and portion of our business, because students today just simply demand or expect that level, those types of service and that level of service, from mobile devices being able to link up on campus to being able to bring their laptops to class and wirelessly connect to the internet. Those services have just become, again, second nature to the incoming traditional students today. And the business of higher education so much depends and relies upon computer information technology, the technology to not only process the information, but again, to accurately report data.
You know, when you look at the changes in that area, you can also look at a change as far as reporting requirements, as far as the Board of Regents is concerned, as well as some federal requirements as far as reports. I think we've become so much more information driven. And we try to say we make decisions, data reference decisions, and all of that is about building that pool of information and that data that we can make good decisions on.
Absolutely. The Board of Regents has taken on a large project over the last several years to have all of the community colleges, universities, and technical colleges report their data in similar manner. It's called the CASE bids, which is the Kansas State Post-Secondary Database, and what they're trying to do is gather common data so that those decisions can be made at the state level, as well as we use that same type of data to make our decisions locally.
You know, Carter, one of the things you mentioned was physical plant, and I suppose it's been maybe 8 or 9 years ago, there was a statewide assessment of facilities, and trying to determine what the level of deferred maintenance was in community colleges. You know, the universities for years had done a wonderful job of detailing their deferred maintenance issues and how much money that they were having to commit to deferred maintenance. We hadn't done that as community colleges. Now that we had that data, Hutch Community College had some significant deferred maintenance issues on our table.
We did, Dr. Berger. A couple of reasons that's true is, one, our campus is a very, it's a very, I hate to use the word old campus, but it's a traditional campus. It's been around for a long time, and the buildings on campus have been in place and been being used for a long period of time. So that naturally causes more deferred maintenance projects than, say, a building that was built in the mid-'60s, like many of our fellow community colleges were. The other thing that drives the deferred maintenance costs at Hutchinson Community College is just the sheer number of square feet that we're taking care of. We have over 600,000 square feet under roof, and again, deferred maintenance can be traced almost directly proportionally to the number of square feet you have. So that we did have a large amount of deferred maintenance that needed to be addressed, and we are addressing that.
You know, I think our viewers certainly understand that when you have a physical plant, when you have a house, whatever it might be, that you've got to continually upgrade that facility, or it's going to become deteriorated to the point there's no value to it. And you know, we've been a little bit unique at Hutchinson Community College in that we have purchased existing facilities. You know, the last new building we built was, I think, in 1987. We built the Fine Arts Building. Mm-hmm. Everything else has been either retrofitted, added to, or otherwise. And so when you have the facilities, expansion facilities, and you're buying those as existing, I guess, physical plants, you have to retrofit them. And so we've been involved in a lot of retrofits, and one of those is certainly the Industrial Technology Center that we have on campus, where you have the heating, ventilation, air conditioning program, as well as the industrial electronics. That was a maintenance facility, mm-hmm. but it was in the center of our campus. So to utilize a facility, we had to invest some money in it.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. We have always used the approach that the facilities that we have are the center, are kind of the centerpiece of our campus, and we are interested in continuing to upgrade those facilities, because building new buildings in a landlocked campus much as ours is very difficult. But we have done a very good job of, as you say, retrofitting and renovating the current facilities we have. The ITC building, the Industrial Technology Center that you were just mentioning, was a classic maintenance facility. Cars were,
or maybe not so classic.
Yeah, or maybe not so classic. It was, you know, automobiles were worked on, trucks were worked on. It was a storage facility, and that facility was taken out of service for that purpose and put into service for classrooms, offices, and our workforce development center is also in that facility.
So that's a great example of taking an existing structure and just building in it and around it and creating something that's maybe a little bit more functional than it was as a maintenance facility.
Absolutely, and we have other examples of that on campus as well.
Yeah, we can roll back to like 1978 when the college bought Davis Hall, and Davis Hall is down at 9th and Walnut, and that's where we have our nursing program. We have our Surge Tech program. We have radiology down there. We have a radio station down there, as well as the volunteer center. And certainly that building was an old nurses' dorm. Mm-hmm. We were able to buy that from the hospital that had the nursing program at that time, and retrofit it for a facility for those programs, yep. Specifically for those programs.
And it's been very functional for that, for those purposes. The last renovation, or the last enhancement to that building, was we took some common area that was previously like a break room or a lunch room, and we created a lab out of it for a simulation lab. The nursing program uses simulated humans to do a lot of their work on, and so we created a lab for that, and we also created a 40-seat classroom.
You know, one of the things we're looking at as we go forward certainly is expansion of our allied health programs, and part of that is the Quest Center, purchase of the Quest Center, And many of our viewers will know the Quest Center. The Quest Center is at 9th and Main, right to the west of Davis Hall. And that purchase was made by our Board of Trustees in December of this year. That facility is going to be retrofitted for allied health programs as well. In fact, we already have 2 allied health programs in there, respiratory therapy as well as physical therapy assistant.
That's correct. As you mentioned, that building was purchased in December, and we are currently working with the architects who put together the campus master plan, and we are going to go through that building. The first approach we always use for a building is we do what's called a programming, and that is asking the individuals who are going to be using the facility what they need in the facility, what is the purpose the facility is going to serve for them. And so we've already gone through the programming, and now we have to go through the actual design and plan phase of that. The first step of this will probably be to do some outside enhancements and cleanup of that facility. Then we'll move inside and start to build the facility out in phases. I don't know whether we're talking about one phase or about 3 phases or 4 phases at this point, but what we'll start to do is as the designs come online, we'll build the facility. We'll put the programs in a more centralized location, and then use the other pieces of the facility that are not in use to build into.
You know, one of the things we discovered when we looked at that building was how much square feet we had right there on the ground floor. You know, there's a second floor to it as well, but if I understand correctly, we're going to try to emphasize the first floor and probably the next 3 or 4 phases of the project.
Yes, that's true. Again, for several reasons, but the number one of which being the ground floor is the most accessible, and it's the easiest. It'll be the easiest to do construction on, especially demolition construction, because the debris can be taken straight out, and it doesn't have to be hauled down. So that is accurate. We will build out the bottom floor first, and then only as need dictates will we move into the second floor.
Right now we have the respiratory therapy program on the second floor of that facility, but that's understood to be temporary, and it'll be there until we get appropriate, appropriate classroom space and office space on the ground floor.
Yeah, that is correct. And the hope is that by next fall we have that program on the ground floor in, as you said, appropriate space with the appropriate number and level of faculty offices and labs that are needed to support that program.
You know, it's our hope when we have that finished that it will bear very light or not very much similarity at all to what it is currently. It's a lot of offices and space of that nature for small business, and we look at bigger space for classrooms and not quite as many offices.
Yeah, our needs are, the needs of a college are significantly different than the needs of a business incubator, which was what that was initially, and it's currently configured in a number of small offices. So the reconfiguration or the renovation of it will be consist of demolishing the interior spaces, and then coming back and building classrooms, offices, labs, and in some cases larger classrooms than we have now over in Davis Hall in order to accommodate the larger nursing classes that we're currently teaching.
You know, one of the things we've talked about with our architects is establishing some kind of connectivity between Davis Hall and the Quest Center, because there will be a lot of going back and forth between those 2 facilities.
That is a desire. The architects are, they understand that we would like to have that type of connectivity. We'll kind of have to wait to see what the plans look like, but I can envision maybe a breezeway between those 2 with some kind of a covered walkway. The facilities are, as you had mentioned, are contiguous. They butt up against each other, so the ability to do that very much exists.
When you look at our campus and some of the changes we've had over the last few years, certainly you have to look at Lockman Hall as being one of those landmark buildings in our community. the 1937, 1938 building, and I know we did considerable renovation to that through an energy grant. And you might talk to our viewers a little bit about how we accomplished that, what changes we made to Lockman Hall. You know, that building was built, I guess, as you maybe don't build buildings, or certainly public buildings today, a lot of those materials were built to last. And you have a tile floor that was 1937, it's still there. In fact, we've carpeted some areas, taken the carpet up and found even more beautiful tile underneath that carpet. You had beautiful leaded windows throughout that building. Again, unique kinds of characteristics for a facility you don't have today in public buildings.
Yeah, one of the challenges with all community colleges and with most businesses today is to try to conserve as much energy as possible, because you know, obviously consumption of energy is expensive, and just, you know, the reduction of consumption also helps the environment. So approximately 3 years ago, we did what we entered into an agreement with Honeywell to do an energy audit of our campus under a state program where the leasing of their work was paid for by the energy savings and the maintenance savings of the work that was done. And so on Lockman Hall, we addressed the windows. Anybody who's been through Lockman Hall or been around Lockman Hall has seen that the windows have all changed. You mentioned the beautiful leaded windows. We preserved those by installing them in between the double pane glass in the windows that were the new thermal efficient windows that were installed. Another less obvious but very much energy efficient characteristic that we installed was the lighting. We went through and we completely re-lamped everything in the building to more energy efficient lighting, and that was by far the biggest energy savings we got in that building. We also, Lockman Hall has a beautiful tile roof on it, but that's only a small part of the roof. The actual bigger part of the roof is a flat asphalt build-up roof, and so we re-roofed that building as well using insulation under the new roofing to help insulate that and to cut down on the energy loss through the roof. So all of those projects two of them were kind of not very visible, but very energy efficient. The third one was the windows, which was added energy efficiency, but was much more visible to the public.
And the estimate is that much of this construction will be paid for by energy savings.
That's correct. Over a third of the cost of the project will be paid for by energy savings itself.
Carter, let's go ahead and take a short break and come back to our viewers in a few minutes and give our viewers a chance to hear more about the various programs we have at Hutchinson Community College.
If you're looking for an exciting career but don't know where to start, look no further than the Broadcast and Media Technology program at Hutchinson Community College. Housed in a former television studio, Building 12 is just a few blocks north of our beautiful main campus. Inside, you'll find classrooms utilizing the latest technology. Get real-world experience producing weekly programming for our local cable channel. With classes from radio production, video editing, broadcast news, videography, reporting to script writing, there's truly something for everyone. So whether you're interested in being in front of the camera or behind the scenes, the Broadcast and Media Technology program at Hutchinson Community College is ready to give you a head start towards an exciting career. For more information, please call 620-665-3433 or visit us on the web at hutcc.edu.
Welcome back to the HCC Experience, an opportunity for us at Hutchinson Community College to communicate with the community and also introduce to you some of the people that we have on our campus that make the campus such a wonderful place to be and such a great college to work at. Tonight's guest is Carter Fowle. Carter Fowle is our Vice President of Finance and Operations. And we've been talking a little bit about some of the physical plant changes that we've seen over the last few years, talking about the Industrial Technology Center, changes made to Lockman Hall, and also some changes to the Quest Center. Some of our viewers might have an interest in how community colleges are funded. We have 3 streams of revenue. You might talk about what those streams are and how those are determined when we put a budget together.
Certainly. The 3 streams of revenue that you mentioned are the first stream, or one of the streams rather, is tuition and fees that our students pay to attend Hutchinson Community College. The tuition and fees that the students pay are set by our Board of Trustees, and they're set only after consideration for what the college needs to operate in the upcoming fiscal year. The second stream, or another stream, is the local property taxpayers that the Reno County taxpayers pay. And again, that is also established at a level only after consideration is given for what the other streams of revenue will be, and at a level that's only necessary to support the community college. The third stream, and the stream that we have the least input over, is the state funding stream, and the state funding comes from the state of Kansas based upon a new model called the tiered technical education model. And we talked earlier about the Kansas State Post-Secondary Database. The community colleges provide the state of Kansas information on our enrollment, our courses, and the cost to put those courses on. And then the state of Kansas uses a national study to determine what the cost for technical education should be, or what it costs on average across the country. And they then determine what the cost should be for the state of Kansas. And those dollars are then appropriated to the community colleges based upon that model. So we have the 3 streams. We have tuition, we have local property tax support, and then we have the state credit hour aid.
Now, we had that funding formula, the cost model, approved by the legislature last year, but at that time we're just approving the model. We didn't approve, or they didn't approve, money to go into the model. And this year there's actually money being proposed to go into that model to help support it.
That is correct, Dr. Berger. The cost model is, as you said, it is just what it should cost. It does not drive the actual appropriation itself. And there was what the Kansas State Board of Regents staff calls a gap. There is a gap between what it should cost to fund it and what the state is actually providing. This current fiscal year, Governor Brownback recommended putting $8 million into the tiered portion of the model, because the tiered portion, which is the technical education portion of the model, was much more underfunded than is the general education. And we call it Tier 0 or non-tiered, but it represents really the general education courses that colleges, community colleges, and technical colleges teach. So that $8 million then will be applied to the bases of each community college at a differential rate based on the gap that each college has from their funding, their theoretical funding level.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting looking at that model, because technical education has been underfunded in Kansas for some time. And this is an effort by the Board of Regents to make that change and make that adjustment. You know, the way it currently is, why a secretarial science class is funded the same as a nursing program.
That is correct.
And one is certainly much more cost intensive than the other. And it was pretty much a disincentive for colleges to go into programs that had those high costs, even though there might be high demand.
That's exactly right, because the high cost programs have been left up to the colleges to fund out of their other streams, or higher cost programs are subsidized, if you will, or supported by less expensive programs. So as you said, there's very much a disincentive to start or to even continue high cost programs.
And I think looking at the governor's approach, and he has a really significant concern about creating jobs in Kansas, and certainly not speaking for the governor at all, but I think he sees this as a way to create a trained workforce so that you'll have more people who will be work ready, go into the workforce.
Absolutely. One of his, I think one of the ideas behind his technical education proposal is that when students come out of high school, they will have a marketable skill that they can then use to help support themselves as if they choose to go into higher education or if they choose to go into the workforce. They have the ability, they have some kind of credential that they can then leverage to do that. And part of his tech ed proposal is for the community colleges and high schools to work closely together to make certain that those students coming out have the opportunity to get technical education in high school. And I know that Hutchinson Community College and USD 308 have already been doing that for years with a very close partnership.
It's been a good model for the state, and certainly when you look at that student coming out with a skill set where he or she can get a job, it's really important because right now if a student graduates from high school without that technical skill set, they're virtually unemployable. Certainly not in a job that can make them a living wage. They might be able to get a part-time job. They might be able to get a job that is more or less dead end, but finding a full-time paying job, career job, is probably going to be very difficult.
I absolutely agree with that.
That's a big change over the last probably 30 years. I think at one time one could leave high school, go to work for a company, and probably make a living wage or build into a living wage, and I'm not sure that option is there any longer.
I would agree with that. I think that the national statistics will tell you that over the next decade, 60% of the jobs being created in the economy will require at least some post-secondary education, but less than a bachelor's degree. So it is the community college and the technical college, technical education, that is really going to be fulfilling that need. I agree with you. I think the days when a high school graduate can come out and go to work for the for the company, for the town company, might be more difficult for those students today than it was 20 or 30 years ago.
I think another thing that's changed pretty dramatically is that tuition. The cost of going to college has gone up just right through the roof, and certainly, again, reflecting back, there was a time when you could probably get a good summer job and make enough money to pay your tuition. Not the case any longer.
No, that's absolutely correct. Tuition in general in higher education has, as you had mentioned, has continued to increase at a rate that many folks in the many policymakers are starting to question those increases or that continued increase. I can say that community colleges, one of our missions, one of our overarching missions is access, so we are very, very sensitive to increases in tuition. We have had increases in tuition because, as with any business, we have increasing costs. But I think our tuition increases are at a much smaller, even if the percentages are the same, the actual real dollar amounts are different. A 10% increase for us would be a $5 or $6 increase. A 10% increase for a university could be upwards of $40 to $50.
Carter, as we kind of wrap up our HCC experience tonight, I'd like to thank you very much for being a guest on the program. I'd like to thank our viewers for being with us tonight. I'd also like to invite you, if you have any questions about the financial side of Hutchinson Community College, to give Mr. File a call, and his number is 665-3510, and be more than happy to discuss with you any component of the fiscal side of Hutchinson Community College. Again, we thank our viewers for being with us this evening, and we hope to see you again next week on the HCC Experience.